Hello, everybody. My name is Andrew Shattuck. I'm your SU president, and this is
Ellie Martin. I am the Students' Union Representation Coordinator.
And together we chair, collate, and then feedback your guys' opinions from the rep forums to the allocated staff members. Today we have an amazing video. Today we're going to go through these responses, these feedbacks, and then any actions that were correlated to them. Obviously, when we did the forums, we collated all of these into a big feedback document. Me and Ellie then went through it, and then we chose the staff members to give this information to hopefully provide some insight or any possible actions to improve your student experience. So today, we're just going to go through that. It's going to be an informal overview. We're going to go through the minutes. We're going to go through some of the main topics and discuss any potential feedback. We may not know everything, but we do have the feedback document here to reference to. So hopefully we can give you some sort of comprehensive overview of what we've done. Anything to say, Ellie?
No, just this is obviously the first time that we've done this, so let us know what you think. First kind of long form content that we've done. So yeah, we just wanted to provide a little bit more insight in depth about kind of specific outcomes and kind of conversations that we've had. So yeah, hopefully it's helpful.
So first of all, we're going to start with enrollment. And as on the general feedback document, we have college enrollment. Would you like to get us started with college enrollment? Then I'll go more into the university enrollment side.
Yeah, so college students in our rep forums were generally saying that enrollment was smoother than previous years. So this is kind of students who've returned and aren't first year students. But there were some students that had SEN needs, special educational needs, found that the enrolment process was a little bit more tricky than that of more neurotypical students, probably because there was a lot more kind of paperwork involved, and the students acknowledged that that's kind of unavoidable, but they thought that maybe Hartpury could kind of put some mitigations in place and some clearer communication to kind of streamline that process. And there were some issues with second year students who ran into a couple kind of hiccups with accommodation allocation. There was some unexpected price increases with accommodation, unclear re-enrollment deadlines, and also a lack of kind of like physical communications around enrollment, in particular like leaflets and booklets. So that's mainly what college students were saying. We passed on all of this enrolment feedback to Claire Whitworth, who is the principal of the college, and she was very receptive of the feedback. She's kind of taken it away, and she's going to be meeting with some people in the senior management team. So we don't have any kind of like direct actions right now, but it's definitely on their radar. They're going to let us know kind of what the outcome is, and hopefully put some of these kind of new actions and plans in place for next year. So that's college.
I've got to live up to that. That was pretty good, guys. Let's see what I can do. So in terms of university, I think the general vibe was that it was pretty straightforward. There wasn't any major complaints, but we did have a couple of feedback points trickle in. Some of these are to do with international students. Because they did a more in-depth induction for international students, they found that, although fun, full on, and that maybe a longer period or some sort of better restructure may be better suited. So we did feed that back. Some students that moved in on the Sunday felt it was a bit rushed. They would appreciate maybe a bit more time to consider moving all the stuff in and getting the family on campus. And specific cohorts found that there were some modules that were unavailable, and there's some misleading information on the website that they did not appreciate. We fed this back to Matt Call, and he assured us that he appreciated the feedback and he took it on board. All the international stuff we forwarded to Charlotte Phillips. And then in terms of some of the communications, he will work with the student union a bit more closely so you guys are more knowledgeable of what's going on and maybe have some more information about where to go and when to go. And now on to one of the big hitters, transport. And obviously the price increase, the reduction of bundles was a big hitter in the beginning of the year. Even before we started doing these forums, we got some feedback from students. It was obviously one of the big issues this year. So there's a lot of feedback on reliability and timetables. Buses often were late or canceled. And if they were late or canceled, sometimes there wasn't a clear communication to students. And when students tried to report that or get a refund for their tickets, Zeal was very slow in terms of response, or sometimes they didn't respond at all. And in terms of the weekend service, so these are the small shuttle buses, sometimes the timetable was changed without informing the students correctly. So there was some mishap of some people going there wasn't any bus, or the bus arrived at a different time that they didn't expect. There's problems with the app and ticketing. If the app isn't just working in general, it may cause confusion, not just for the student, but also the driver. And we have had some reports of drivers' behavior being negative towards students who've had this happen to them. Also, there's been some glitches where students having multiple rides but showing a 0, or some students not having any rides at all and showing as multiple. The increase in price was pretty hard-hitting. The good thing is that the year pass has stayed the same, but for some students who either are going to get a driver's license or do not want to pay for a full year of transport, it may be very limiting for them as they're locked into a contract. And onto communication and complaints. Students that did want to relay this feedback have had some hesitation when trying to get back to them. They've experienced slow response times, and the feedback mechanism isn't really streamlined, with some people getting in contact with one phone number and then being passed on to another.
And then we had a few comments relayed about the impact on equine students. So on the weekend, there are quite large gaps between buses, or for example, I don't think a bus on a Sunday starts until midday.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that if students need to get on site to do their horse in the morning, they either have to get a taxi or a lift or something like that. So that often means that they're asking other people who are living on site to do their horse for them. And obviously that's quite a big strain on those who do live on site. Some of them can be completing like loads of hay nets in one go, putting stress on themselves, and also means that they might not be able to give their own horse as much attention as they want to. But that's also applicable in the evening as well. I think the last bus leaves quite close to when the hay barn closes. So there's a lot of rushing around and maybe not being able to do as much as they would like to. I also know that it was brought up that the Sunday bus not coming until midday puts quite a big strain on our students who want to go into Gloucester to like go to church or any other kind of like religious activities, because obviously they quite often happen in the morning. So that is a massive strain on those students as well. And then just some other kind of miscellaneous issues that we had regarding transport is there has been a lot of congestion on kind of like the main junction from Hartpury and Hartpury Drive onto the main road. And that's adding to delays kind of getting on and off campus. There is a parking shortage for those who do drive. And there has been some positive feedback. Students were saying that the new 3:40 p.m. and the 4:15 p.m. bus slots have been appreciated because those were new this year, because there were quite big gaps last year, and those are typically the times of day where most students are wanting to get off site, so that was really appreciated. There are some occasional issues to do with punctuality, but yeah, there was quite good positive feedback for that. Yeah, pretty well appreciated. In terms of outcomes then for transport, we met with Sophia, who is the customer service kind of manager, I believe her role is, from Zelo, who is the company who kind of oversees the bus transport provision at Hartpury. And we had a really good meeting with her a few weeks ago. I think it was just before the forums, about some other feedback, because we were picking up that students were finding it really hard to relay feedback directly to Zelo. Either it was coming through us and then trying to get to Zelo and getting lost in the ether, or maybe going through transport, and there was just a lot of people to go through before actually speaking to them. So we kind of went to them with the idea of, we just want a really easy way for students to either send complaints directly to them or kind of just general feedback. And Sophia seemed really on board with this. She was keen to put in kind of like a permanent form or survey or something on the app, so students could fill it out whenever they wanted. It's not every 6 rides or whatever it is at the moment. So hopefully she's looking into doing that. We haven't actually heard back off her yet regarding that, but we are chasing her, so hopefully we'll have something in the new year. In that same meeting, we relayed some concerns about driver behaviour as well, as Andrew alluded to earlier, and she was really disappointed to hear this and wasn't something that she was particularly aware of. So again, hopefully she's chasing that up as well. In regards to kind of the general transport feedback that we've received, we definitely completely hear you and agree with you. We were quite disappointed not to be consulted on this price increase and the reduction in bundles. So we've talked to senior management about this, and they have let us know that we will be involved as a students' union with any future decisions that come to light in regards to pricing. So fingers crossed we'll be invited to something in the summer when the contract is renewed. And yeah, of course, we've passed this all on to our internal transport team and Zelo. And again, unfortunately, we haven't heard anything back quite yet, but we're still pushing on. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we will have something to tell you in the new year. But of course, transport is always kind of one of the main things that we're looking at. So please feel free to email us, Teams us, whenever, and we'll continue to feed into those internal and external teams.
For those of you who don't know, Hartpury actually uses an external company to provide their transport services during the weekday. And we're trying to find a streamlined feedback mechanism to connect both of them at the same time, also while providing students with a way to get their concerns heard. Now we're on to another big hitter, catering. So as always, prices and value has been a big concern this year, with students thinking that the quality of food they get doesn't match the price that they're paying. Some students think that the quality that they provided and the variance in their diet isn't enough to sustain their current energy needs or expenditure. We had a couple of students saying chicken and rice, chicken and rice, chicken and rice constantly throughout these forums. They also report that they feel like gluten-free labeling is unreliable with cross-contamination concerns. Reports about poor communication about the meal packages and what's on offer is also a problem.
So in regards to the catering feedback that the reps relayed to us, we actually meet with Aramark on a monthly basis. So even outside of the forums, we'll still meet with them every month. So in that monthly meeting after the forums, we of course relayed everything verbally to the Aramark team, and they were again very receptive of the feedback. And as a result of that meeting, they put together a little "you said we did" graphic of some of the things that you guys relayed to us in the forums. So I'll just go over that really quickly. So in response to some students saying that there's poor gluten-free options and that they are uncomfortable with kind of going up to the chefs and kind of sticking out and thinking that they might be causing trouble by asking to make something specific for them, Aramark have got back to us and said they've now developed a 3-week menu cycle that is gluten and dairy free, and this is available to view in the Social Kitchen app. So if you are not sure what the Social Kitchen app is, it is basically just an online mobile app that includes everything that Aramark offers at Hartpury. So that could be rotating weekly menus, it could be any deals that are on offer, or it could be kind of any upcoming events that Aramark holding. In relation to some students think that it is unfair to have to pay for a takeaway container, Aramark have said that you actually can bring your own kind of container in if you'd like to. If you know you're going to have to run away quickly and you're not going to be able to eat in Aramark or in Grays, you can bring your own Tupperware and they'll put it in there for you completely free of charge. And then they also said that if you're not able to do that, they are going to keep the price of the takeaway containers because it aligns with Hartpury and Aramark's sustainability goals. When you guys said that you think that the sandwiches are too expensive and that the sandwiches on their own could match the price of a meal deal at another commercial supermarket, Aramark said that they do have meal deal options, in case you weren't aware of them. So there is a £4 meal deal and a £4.95 meal deal option for sandwiches, which also includes a drink and a packet of crisps. And that should be kind of advertised within Grays itself. But again, if you can't find it anywhere, just have a look on the app and it should be clearly advertised on there. There were also some comments about some prepackaged items, such as fruit pots and cheese pots being quite expensive. And we are really, really, really happy to hear that Aramark have actually reduced the price of the cheese pot to £1. And they've also reduced the price of the grapes and the pineapple, but they have stopped serving melon due to the price and they're not able to bring it down. Jelly and the Wibble Whip pots have also gone down to £1 and cheesecake down to £1.85, which we were really, really pleased to hear because we know that these little things add up and you might, go and order a whole meal and just want some cheese on the side and that can bring it up by, a third of the price or something like that. So we also are really understanding with Aramark that they are a business and the price of food and just inflation in the past few years has gone up a lot. And we know students are really understanding of that as well. So we are just really happy that they've been able to make some cuts here and there. And they really do have kind of like the students' best interest in mind. So yeah, we were really pleased with that. And hopefully you guys are as well.
Wibble Whip.
Wibble Whip.
Wibble Whip.
I'm
That's
not
a tongue
sure
twister
what
right there.
Wibble Whip pot is.
Yeah.
We'll have to go investigate. Some of you were saying that you find that the menu can be quite repetitive, as Andrew was saying, a lot of chicken and rice. And excitingly, Aramark do have a new head chef starting. I think they might have already started by now. So especially by January or February, whenever you come back, there should be kind of a new menu cycle. So keep an eye open for that. There were some of you saying that the shop runs out of essentials like soap and shampoo, making it hard, particularly for residential students. And Aramark are now making sure that it is stocked with more essentials, especially including toiletries. Sometimes pricing can depend and vary dependent on who is serving on the till. Aramark have said that staff have been rebriefed on the prices and the offers, as well as a list being set on the till. So yeah, hopefully different staff members should be more on the same wavelength, and it should be more consistent now. And then finally, there were some comments about the food at the van up in Ag, and Aramark have said that, about that food sometimes being cold. Aramark have said that it is all now cooked fresh in the van, so should all be hot and warm. And they're hoping for the van to be completely self-sufficient soon, kind of like separately from Grays. So that's really exciting as well, and hopefully some good changes. So yeah, quite a lot of actions that Aramark have agreed to take on, which we're really pleased with. Of course, we're going to continue to meet with them monthly and try and address some of those other points that you guys brought up in the forums that Aramark can't quite change anything about yet, and push for those, because similarly to transport, we really acknowledge that kind of the catering experience makes a massive impact on the student experience here at Hartpury. Then the next topic that we spoke about on the agenda was cost of living. And we know that cost of living, not just in the UK, but nationally, is really hard for everybody at the moment, but especially students. And some students were saying that they are struggling to afford things such as food, transport, rent, and heating, and they are often having to prioritise one of these things over the other. Many students are having to take on part-time or even full-time jobs to support their life alongside study, which is impacting their attendance and then academic performance. And there are some students that are in serious financial debt, and they are therefore relying on family support, bursaries, or other incentives through banks to cope. And they also feel that sometimes the bursaries and financial support at Hartpury are not always widely advertised, and the communication from student finance can sometimes be quite poor, and they're not quite too sure where to get help from. Going into a little bit more detail about kind of like housing and accommodation. So some students were saying that they think on-site accommodation on Hartpury campus can be seen as overpriced and outdated compared to some other alternatives within Gloucester. But then if you are renting in Gloucester, the monthly payment can be upwards of £600, and that consumes most of the student's loan, leaving very little kind of for other essentials and other things that they need kind of to live. Coming back to on-site accommodation, some students were questioning why on-site accommodation is such a higher cost compared to within Gloucester, and what is it about Hartpury facilities that justifies that higher cost. And then some students were kind of questioning what is the flexibility for staying on site over Christmas and Easter and into the summer for those who have to maintain kind of local part-time jobs, which they need to continue to kind of fund their life outside of their studies. And again, going into a bit more depth about transport, as we've kind of already discussed, we know bus prices have increased, and so have petrol costs as well. So a lot of students are having to car share with other students or pay for lifts instead. And again, that increase in price for the Zelo tickets discourages travel off-site to social activities or to go food shopping. And of course, there has been a call to bring back the return tickets, because students really think this would help with the value and be much more sustainable in the long term. And once again, these transport costs are directly affecting attendance, with some students skipping lectures or classes to save money, perhaps because they can't afford to travel in or because they need to go to a shift at their part-time job. Students just don't always think that coming in to a lecture is worth the money that it is costing them. Focusing on kind of the food and the catering side of things, once again, students were bringing up that they think that the price of food in Grays and in Legends as well is considered to be quite expensive and poor value for the price that you are paying, leading to a lot of students bringing in packed meals or ordering deliveries on site if they're residential. And these deliveries can often be cheaper than actually travelling into Gloucester to do the shopping yourself, though some on-site students find it quite restrictive around the curfew. A lot of students are shopping at supermarkets such as Lidl and Aldi due to their affordability, and students are really appreciating the products that we provide within the SU loft, but they think that it could do with some more frequent replenishment. When it comes to how this cost of living crisis is, again, affecting academic studies, students have issues with timetables that are quite spread out within the day, because it means that commuting is quite costly and inefficient. So, for example, if you have a lecture first thing in the morning and last thing in an afternoon, you maybe wouldn't be able to take on a part-time shift that day because the lectures are so spread out. And it is especially hard for placement students. For example, some placement students are asked to do 150 unpaid hours, and this can be seen as quite excessive and financially unmanageable compared to other courses, because nowadays time is money. Students don't have all of the time in the world to kind of give up for volunteering, so they might see that time used better in a job. And kind of more holistically, this is really affecting students' well-being and social life. So these financial pressures can create a lot of anxiety and stress in students, with them feeling that they are surviving rather than living. And just generally, the rising cost is reducing the student experience despite positive views on the academic side. From mostly what we hear in terms of academics, students are very happy at Hartpury. And it is really sad to hear that kind of issues with finances is acting as a barrier to their education and enjoying their time at Hartpury. Because we have a wonderful campus, wonderful staff, as students have told us. Yeah, and it's just really disappointing and upsetting to hear that students are getting even worse in terms of being able to not only enjoy their social life, and because one of the main reasons I think that people come to university sometimes is to kind of grow your independence and meet new people and socialize, and students aren't being able to do that anymore. And then eventually it's going to get to the point where students can't access their education anymore. And then, yeah, obviously this is not a Hartpury specific problem. This is a national governmental issue.
We've passed this on to the cost of living group, and hopefully we get some input on what they said in February. We are very understanding of the current financial climate, and we're doing the best as we can to provide the best experience for you guys.
In our student rep forums, we always ask the reps whether they have any other business that they'd want to talk to us about that we haven't kind of covered in our structured agenda. So we had a few bits come through this time. So firstly, in regards to more accessibility and inclusion, we had a student tell us that they're very happy that assistance dogs are so welcomed on campus, but they feel that sometimes other students are not always respective of the dogs and their jobs. And we have spoken to some staff members at Hartpury who are more involved with kind of like the dog policy and assistance dogs. And they've told us that they do share a lot of comms in regards to not disturbing assistance dogs whilst they're working and things like that. So we think it's kind of a job for us to help with promoting that education as well. We think that most students do have good intention when it comes to disturbing assistance dogs. Or at least we would hope that's the case. And it is more of a communication and education piece that we will hopefully be working on next semester with some kind of like social media communications and stuff like that. We also had some feedback that there were some international students who were struggling with the integration to Hartpury and kind of the British culture and just the new way of life here, as well as the kind of new and unexpected workload that comes with being a college or a university student. So again, we pass this on to the international team, as well as Kate Wilkinson, who's the head of teaching and learning, and also I think former head of ASK. And they asked us to kind of remind students that the ASK support team and also kind of workshops are available to all students, and they're very happy to meet with any international students when it comes to integrating them with kind of the university workload and the more academic side of things. But we also have the International Society, which is really successful and currently chaired by one of our SU officers. So, of course, they will always be happy to have any new students along as well. And then we also had another really, really important thing raised, which was the fact that the lift in equine has been broken for a very, very long time, which we have been aware of. And Hartpury has also been aware of this for a long time. So again, we approached them and asked them why this hasn't been fixed, and they were very honest with us, and they said that they don't currently have kind of the budget to put a brand new lift in because the lift is very, very old and it's becoming very hard to maintain and getting the parts for it. And yeah, it's just not the same type of lifts that we have in other buildings, such as in Grays. So they are waiting to find some funds to completely replace the lift. And from memory, they don't have a timeline for this, but they're trying to kind of seek all available options. So they're aware of the issue, and it is very disappointing that this isn't being resolved quickly because, again, it is an access to education. But they have asked us to remind students to report any accessibility needs to their tutor as soon as possible, because timetabling will not timetable any of those students upstairs in equine. So not a perfect outcome whatsoever, but a kind of short-term fix for the meantime. We also had a few comments come through from both college and university students in regards to the wellbeing services and counselling provision here at Hartpury. So generally, students were saying that the counselling waitlist is very long, with sometimes quite poor communication about what's going to happen and what services is going to be provided once counselling has finished. And some students found that the kind of the 6 counselling sessions is potentially too short, and they've had issues with sessions being cancelled with very short notice in the past. Students have also been saying that the wellbeing drop-in sessions are not very accessible for students who are living off-site. I do believe that there are drop-ins at Blackfriars, but if you are living in kind of like a private accommodation in Gloucester, it can be quite difficult to access a session sometimes. This has been relayed to Leslie Worsfold, who is a member of the senior management team here at Hartpury, and she's going to relay this feedback directly to the wellbeing team. But she has asked us to promote the student assistance programme, which we are hoping to do some more comms and potentially a video about in the new year, which is basically an online kind of service for students to access at all times of the day that does provide kind of external counselling support. So if you aren't able to access counselling on site, there is that option for students. We also gather quite a lot of positive feedback during our rep forums. It definitely is not all negative. There are some really, really, really lovely things that students have to say about Hartpury. And one of those things, year on year, that students always rave about is the lecturers and the teaching quality at Hartpury. So this round, we have some shout outs for some specific staff members who were described as engaging, supportive and passionate, often going above and beyond. So this included Marina from the Ask team, Lily Harris, Hayley Donovan, Joe Winfield, Ben Klinkenberg, John Binks, William Patterson and Thomas Legg. And it was so lovely to kind of hear the students' opinions and experiences with these staff members. Of course, we've let them know that you think so highly of them, and we've also let their direct manager know as well. So hopefully they can use some of your feedback for their own personal progression in their role and future appraisals and stuff like that. We also just want to take this time to remind you that the STAR Awards, so the Student Allocated Recognition Awards through the SU, will be being released towards the end of semester 2, where you will be able to nominate your most beloved lecturers and support staff. So definitely keep these staff members in mind for them then, because they might be able to win an award for a particular category.
There's also some positives in regards to academic support, with Ask workshops, the study hub and wellbeing services seen as very helpful for assignment and workload.
And as we all know and are aware of, we are studying on an absolutely fantastic campus, and students have been describing it as welcoming, safe, and supportive, with some really great views and really good facilities. Students generally feel comfortable reporting any instances of discrimination, and they are mostly aware of how to access support. And there has been a lot of positive feedback for, again, some specific staff members. Somebody from the canteen or Aramark who goes by the name of Sunny, UPS, so Uniform Protected Services tutors, English and maths teachers, and strength and conditioning staff.
Being a relatively small university also comes with some amazing benefits, like a strong sense of community, with students reporting that when they socialize outside campus, they feel very close-knit.
And then finally, The sustainability efforts that Hartpury are making has been noted as very positive, and students are really appreciating kind of the growth of the sustainability team here at Hartpury, and the new roles and initiatives that have been brought on board.
And that's everything we have today, guys. A massive thank you for your attention. If you reached the end of the video, it was a great opportunity to get just to overview some of these comments and see the actions, and obviously talk with Ellie. She's amazing. You'll be able to access these minutes on our website. There you'll be able to access a short summary, the raw minutes, and there'll also be a social media video describing the big wins, which is a lot more shorter format than this one. But just from us, thank you so much for being Hartpury students. Hopefully we're able to represent you in ways that are impactful. So guys, I'll catch you in the next one. That's it from us.
Thank you very
Adios.
much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.